Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. This is Franz, Sidney. We're very happy to have you today with a friend all the way from Toronto in Canada to talk about couples therapy and how it can help you. So, first of all, let's say hello to Arkadiy Volkov. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hello, friends. Thanks so much for having me here. Really happy to be here.
I'm excited to have you because I want to give you guys listen to the show a hope. Maybe you are navigating a moment of stress. You are missing the connection you used to have with somebody in your life that was so important. You even got married or you're living together and you want to stay together, but you have a little bit of problem with communication. It's not really happening at all. You have long silences. Maybe somebody is not talking to one another for days and they storm out of the room. Maybe there is the tension is palpable, is increasing. Maybe a little bit hostile. You do things on purpose to annoy the other person. Or maybe you just feel emotionally distant. You're not quite there. And you're not quite resolving your problems. They're there, they're mounting up, and resolving it. So you have all this frustration. So whatever it is, do you know what? You are not on your own. There are so many people. It is very common to have problems with a person when you're living together. The important thing is not to say, we got this problem, we're gonna go. No, it's to sit down and see where are the problems coming from and what can you do about it. And this is the specialism of Arkady, who was before coming to the US, actually to Canada, because that's a different place. To the, let's say, to the island, to the area, he was already a lawyer and then a psychologist or psychotherapist, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so he knows all the things that can happen in all these areas. And in his psychotherapy practice, he is specializing on really helping people out of these problems. So, what are the main problems that you see that people come to you with that have to do with relationships? What is the big thing?
That's a great introduction, actually, friends. And I hear that you painted such a great picture of things people usually struggle with. You made some very good points. Sometimes it's just that distance that grows between the partners. So where before there was closeness, there was warmth, they now feel that they don't really belong near each other and they don't feel comfortable, they don't feel welcome with each other. Then there is the conflict itself, right? Fights, arguments, those hurtful things we say to each other, and just feeling that our partner doesn't care about us or we can't resolve any single thing. And sometimes what happens is just our love, our connection turning into more of a relationship between roommates or friends. Right? We're still together, but we feel, is there any love anymore? Is there that spark that actually brought us together? And with time, it becomes harder and harder to talk about that. But you use the very important word hope, which I think is often the foundation of actually very successful overcoming of conflicts or successful therapy. Without hope, this just wouldn't be possible. And I hope that things I can share today can give hope to some people who are struggling with conflicts even now.
That's great. So from cope to hope, but you don't have to cope with your spouse. You have to hope together. The things
Yeah, that's a good one.
gets better. We just change a
Yeah,
little constant there, right?
yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah. And I think something in your words really resonate with me. Right? You said that we sometimes lose that connection with each other, and right, our fights just don't get resolved. Right, we fight over and over together. And in my practice, what I find often happens, and that my clients taught me, which I learned from them, is that our fights are mostly about how we feel around each other. They are mostly about what happens to each of us when there is something that hurts us, when there is something that causes us to feel any kind of right, negative emotions, and how we deal with that. It's not about the dishwasher, it's not about money, it's not about who does chores around the house or how we set that boundary between our family and our relatives. All those things are important, but usually those fights are just about something else, something deeper, like how we feel about each other, how we don't feel that our partner cares for us, and if we can talk about that, if we can understand that, that's how we can make things change.
Mhm. So, do you have maybe an example of a typical couple when they come to you as a couple? What's going on between them, going deeper in the everyday life where you
Mhm.
can say, we need some work?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple that which comes to my mind, probably because of what they said when they first came to see me when we had our first session. You know, the words they used, they said that we still love each other, there is still a lot of love, but when we fight, we're just like enemies to each other. And I think that really catches the truth of that. So, right, when we fight, something happens, and I just see the person who I love, who is the most important person to me. I see them as someone who is against me, right? Who just doesn't give any ground to me, who doesn't understand me, who doesn't hear me, and of course that's terrible. Of course that's awful, and we react to that. And what happened in that couple, which is maybe something that some of our listeners will discover about their relationship, or something that will resonate with, is that the husband there, he was used to dealing with his emotions by just shutting down, right, and avoiding any sort of situation that could feel like a conflict, or that would involve talking about right, things that were difficult for him to talk about. So when his wife was upset, when his wife was sad, when she tried to get something from him, he would just go silent and avoid any kind of discussion, go to work, or go somewhere else. And what she did, obviously, was trying to actually talk about something, to resolve something. But the more she did that, the more he shut down and avoided her, and the more he avoided her, the more she tried to get something from him, because it was unbearable for her to be there in silence. And I think it is a kind of an emotional cycle that often forms in our relationships. We deal with our negative emotions in the ways that are familiar to us, in the way that maybe helped us before, the ways that were taught to us. But then with time, we just can't do anything else. If at some point I learned to deal with my emotions by shutting down, I will just keep doing that. But the problem is that in a relationship, my way of dealing with my distress can be the exact thing that would make my partner hurt. And how they deal with what they feel will be the thing that hurts me. And we will be caught in this loop. So what happened in therapy is that we were actually able to make sense of what was happening between them, and then slow things down and explain to each other what each of them were doing. Because he wasn't avoiding her just because he didn't care. He avoided her because he didn't know how to talk about that. He was scared of having such a conversation. And she demanded so many things from him and pursued him, not because she just wanted to hurt him, or she hated him. She did that just because she felt very lonely. She felt very sad when she couldn't get her husband to talk to her. And when we got to the truth of that, that's where things changed. Sorry, that was a very long-winded answer to your question.
No, that's fine. And we need to understand deeply because obviously we can make generalistic statements and people say,
Mhm,
oh, yeah, just be positive. Oh, yeah, just do this.
mhm,
But it's really, we start certain behaviors because we have some principles that are not aligned, some values that are different,
yeah.
but we don't realize that. So we start feeling. So the feeling comes later, the emotion comes later. But when we are living in a way that is not aligned to what we feel that
Mhm,
is right, it might really hurt us. And this could be just because I am from a different region of a country, and culturally, is it very important for me to, I don't know, keep up appearances in the house
mhm,
or to always look amazing, or it's very important to earn a certain amount of
yeah.
money or to have a social status, whatever it's important in your culture, it could be opposite into the other culture. And so you realize,
Mhm,
I really like this person, but for them, it doesn't matter. They just throw everything in the house. I'm just fed up of cleaning after them. But they had to grow up. But for them, it's not the same. It's not about growing up.
exactly.
It's about,
Mhm.
oh, it's more important. I'm going to go watch the football or I'm going to go shopping with my friends. So, what are the values there? Isn't values one of the big things in a marriage?
Definitely. And that is something actually that practicing in Toronto taught me because I had the privilege of working with clients from so many backgrounds, cultural, national, with many multicultural couples. And often this conflict between the values, between the ways that we see the world, between the things that we see as important or unimportant is often at the root of conflict because it's so natural for us to think that the way I see the world right, is something that my partner will share. They will just see things in the same way. But often it's not like that. Or often it is, but in some ways, in some crucial ways, right, sometimes it's just not the case. But having a conversation about that can be also pretty tough, pretty hard, because we're not just used to doing that. And I think another point is that we need to be open to our partner to have such a conversation. We need to be open to the very idea of having a conversation and changing something. So both partners need to be open to that, and that is sometimes hard to achieve. Understanding that it's not my partner who is always wrong, or if I can only just fix what they do, we will live a happy life. But owning that yeah, both of us play a part in what happens in our relationship.
Mm.
Sometimes this can require a lot of courage.
I love the word courage because sometimes we're living together because just in case things go wrong and I can just leave. And
Mm,
instead, we need the resilience to say, okay, what can I do? Because in the end of the day, when people divorce, many times the very reason that caused their breaking and all their rupture intention is going to be their part of their character in the next relationship because they haven't fixed that.
mm.
So if we don't stop doing what we're doing, that is annoying everyone else, eventually in another relationship, we're going to behave exactly in the same way and think, oh, I've done nothing wrong because we refuse. And this takes me to my question. What
Mhm.
if a person says, okay, I think that my wife is just too heavy and I need, I want to save this relationship, but she thinks she's perfect. So I talk to her, but she does not want therapy. She thinks she's all right. I'm the problem. So could a person still benefit from doing therapy on their own if the other person just doesn't want to be part of it?
I think definitely yes. So maybe in some cases it won't be as efficient as having both partners in the same room and working with them as a couple. But I think individual work, individual therapy, right, working on the relationship just from one end would also have a lot of benefits. To give some examples, right? For example, well, in that right example that I already provided, right, in that couple, in that kind of emotional cycle that they had, if say, right, the husband or the wife were not open to couple therapy, but one of them came to me, maybe it would be the husband, right? Maybe it would be the wife. But what we can do, right, is understand what happens in the moments they fight. Maybe this perspective will be limited, right? We won't be able to hear what the other partner has to say. But still, with people who live together, with people who know each other so well, usually we have pretty good grasp on what happens. And I can be there to right, provide my experience and my knowledge to help them paint the whole picture. And we can understand what happens for them when they fight, right? What they feel in terms of emotions, how their body reacts to right to the conflict. Is there a pit in their stomach, right? Is there kind of heartbeat that's just goes crazy when they fight? Is there some kind of emptiness in their heart? This could all be as signals to understand what exactly they feel. And we can add to that, right, some attention to what goes through their minds, right, how they make sense of what is happening, because we always try to explain to ourselves what happens, right? We always are looking for some meanings to what is happening, right? So my wife is silent. What does that mean, right? So this could mean all sort of things, but maybe my mind jumps to, yeah, she probably doesn't care about me, right? It's not that she's thinking about something else. It's not that she's just having a bad day. Probably she just doesn't want to talk to me, and that makes me feel bad. So we could right assemble that picture on the end of one partner and help them be more connected to what happens, and have them able to share what actually happens on some deeper layer in those moments, right? So yes, they are saying, right, you never talk to me, and right, I can never get a good word from you. And when the partner hears that, they probably right want to take a step back and sort of think, wow, that feels like an attack. That feels like a threat. But if in the individual therapy we can connect to what happens underneath that, right? That when the partner says, "Hey, you never talked to me and you never said a good word to me," underneath they feel, hey, I'm lonely here, right? I'm so sad that when I can get some warmth from you. Probably if they can share that, there will be different reaction. I see time and time again that when we can share some softer, more vulnerable feelings that are there, that sometimes are even actually hard for us to notice and feel, but when we can connect to them and share them, they almost always have a different reaction, right? When a person I love says, "Hey, I'm lonely here," I will probably stop there and say, "Wow, that doesn't sound so good. I want to reach out and help you feel different." So yes, definitely, individual work can provide some great results as well.
Well, that's good to know because, I have lots of friends who are in this moment in their life when they're pondering who is this person that I've married?
Mm,
Why are they so different? And we all change, we get into a routine, we put our own interests and our own hobbies,
yes.
our own things there. And oh, I'm not going to give up anything. This is me, I'm not going to change. But at the end of the day, if you're sharing the house with somebody and they're not just roommates, you're going to have to share
Hmm.
some moments where you're just unwinding together, maybe
Exactly.
talking. Those 5 minutes, we're not asking to talk and have therapy every 2 hours, but just
Yeah.
really communicating what's important, what are their plans
Yeah.
and goals. Sometimes our plans and goals are so different.
Right. But we never know that, right? We just assume that they're the same. Exactly.
We make lots of assumptions, especially
Hmm.
when we jump into relationship and, oh yeah, this is amazing, I feel great, I'm gonna go and live together. And then after a few months, we'll realize, oh, everything we do is just totally opposite. We just are going
Hmm.
in different directions because we didn't take the time to ask. It's okay to say, let's go to the cinema, to the movies, but after a while, that will not be enough to sustain any relationship. So we need those
Hmm.
deeper problems. I did want to ask about, is there any role there in faith in helping people to get along better?
Yes. So absolutely. Some of the couples that I work with share the same faith as myself. I'm an Orthodox Christian. Some of the couple that I work with are atheists, and sometimes we just never have a discussion about right our faith when the clients are not open to that. And anyway, it's fine. It's not what it makes therapy work, but it can definitely help when there is that sort of connection between myself and the clients, or between the client themselves, when right, I can relate to what is their religious background and what is the faith they share. And I will probably talk more about Christian faith because that is somewhere where I feel more comfortable and something that I share. But Christianity, and especially if both partners are Christian, can provide some great ways to connect with each other and some great perspectives to actually keep that connection. And the word that come to my mind, probably, well, hope. That's right. You already mentioned hope that. We can actually heal. We can heal our relationship. We can heal each other. We can change things to the better, right? Hope and faith in that. But also forgiveness. I think forgiveness is at the root of understanding each other's perspective and being able to have peace with that. And sometimes forgive. the ways we hurt each other, forgive the things we do to each other, and let go of that, not let that be between us for years and years from the moment when something happened. But also humility, right? Letting go of our pride and being able to see things through the other person's eyes and being able sometimes to accept that, yeah, I can be wrong and what I do can hurt you. All those things are a great foundation to having a conversation, to restoring that connection that partners have. And something that's, oh, sorry for it. Yeah. No, just one thing I wanted to add, right? As I was talking, just right, a couple came to my mind who I worked with. I witnessed, right, something important changed about the way they saw each other and they saw the conflict was that when I think it was the husband in one of the sessions, he turned to his wife and he said, right, remember those vows we made, right? And we told each other that we'll be together, right, for better or worse. And well, this is the worst, right? And I need you to just to be here with me and for us to go through this moment together. And I think having something, right, those words that we tell each other, having something behind that, right, something that's sacred to us, that can be a great foundation as well.
That is a great observation. And I have one last question. We go towards the
Yeah.
tip area. Not the tip as rubbish, but the tip as suggestions. Before
Yeah.
that, I wanted to say, is it possible to forgive a partner or spouse who has been unfaithful? Because you mentioned forgiveness. So,
Mhm.
how difficult that is? Do you have any therapy? I know you use EMDR, CBT, but what can you use to let go of this huge weight that we feel when we
Mhm.
realize we've been betrayed?
Yeah. Well, the approach that I, with time, right, using more and more with couples is emotionally focused therapy. And in this approach, there is this term attachment injury, right, that we use to describe infidelity, betrayals, but also other experiences when, right, we are deeply hurt by our partner in the moment when we are vulnerable, right, when we need support, but the partner isn't there, or when they say or do something that, right, hurts us. But I think, yeah, infidelity, betrayal is one of the probably most terrible things that can happen to us in a relationship, something that hurts probably the most. Research comes to my mind where I think it was found that people were more hurt and found it harder to actually process and go through a betrayal rather than just losing their partner passing away, which is hard to grasp. But when you think of that, it does make a lot of sense. And to answer your question, it is possible to forgive betrayal. I saw that happen in my personal life, right, amongst people I know. I saw that happen in the therapy room, but it always takes an incredible amount of work. It always takes an incredible amount of commitment of both partners. So, because like you said, yeah, it can be such a terrible weight to carry, and it's so hard to let go of that because that changes the way we see each other. That changes the way we see our relationship. That shakes kind of the very right foundations of who we are, how we feel in the relationship. And it takes a lot of involvement from both parties, right? We really need to see that our partner gets what we felt, right? Our partner gets what they did to us, right, what we had to go through, and they are actually deeply sorry about that. They want to change. They want us never to feel like that again. And we need to trust that, right? So some very deep, very intense conversations have to happen for that to be possible. But if that work is done, then yeah, such a rupture can be healed.
Wow, that's a very good news because it does happen. It's quite frequent to know that one spouse somehow feels that they can just walk off and go with somebody else. And then they return, they're not really leaving the marriage, but they are just looking around. And of course, this creates a lot of
Mm,
distrust. And
yeah.
it could be that if we are not ready to forgive, we might feel like we have this weapon against the
Mm,
spouse and we can just attack him or attack her all the time and say, well, how can I trust you after what you've done?
Exactly. Yeah.
And if, you know, subtle or not, it will be quite hurtful. The other person, oh, but I'm changing, and the person doesn't believe it. It might be that even after they think they change, something is broken there, because the trust should be the first thing we have in a marriage.
Yeah.
You trust the
Exactly.
person with all of you, and then it becomes very vulnerable to know that this person is just gone to somebody else after
Hmm.
speaking so much about
Yeah.
being faithful. So that's terrible. So I realized we have a few minutes left, and I thought, have you got any final tips for a person that is feeling like there is something not quite right and they need to
Mm.
get better and they want to help it before they go into the divorce ground? What can people do, like from day one,
Yeah.
to make the relationship stay strong and grow? Have you got tips for us?
I really love the way you phrase that question because right, what often happens is people go to therapy as a last resort, right? They go to therapy and say, hey, we tried everything. We're just at the brink of divorce, right, of breakup, and all our hopes are here. But it's so hard, right, to work when there's already so much hurt that each partner carries right, so much unresolved conflict. So the way you said that, right, doing something from day one, and this shouldn't be a lot, right? Those tips probably that come to my mind are really simple, right? They would be actually talking to each other right from day one and understanding each other, right? What makes us sad, what makes us happy, right? What are the things that can hurt us? Because each of us have these vulnerable points that right we are really sensitive to. And knowing that about each other is so important, but also right, discuss with each other what we do when we are hurt, right? And how other people see what we do, how we can help each other feel better in those moments. And this shouldn't be right some long, deep, intense conversations. This could be yeah 5, 10 minutes check-ins from time to time, and right when we feel open to each other. But something that we do regularly, that we do consistently to make sure that we have that connection. And then when we need right something from our partner, well, just taking a moment, taking a pause to frame that as something we need, right? Not a threat, not blaming them, not as an attack, but actually sharing right, how they can help us at this moment, how they can make us feel safer and feel better. And the last probably thing to recommend would be having some rituals between you, right? Having some practices that are your own. This could be right, sharing one good moment at the end of the day, or this could be just focusing on those things you are grateful to each other for, or those things you appreciate for each other. This could be just having a long hug, right, each time when you both come home from work or right from somewhere where you've been during the day. But having those points that just keep you connected day after day, they sound simple, but this can actually do a lot.
You know, you're quite right. Sometimes it's the small little things that we do that can really annoy people. And on the other side is the small little things we can do to build up and to
Yeah,
make the other person be happy to be around us. It's that simple, you
exactly.
know. So it's simple, but it's hard if you're emotionally wounded, which is why we have
Hmm.
such things as EFT, RTT, CBT, EMDR, and all sorts of things that we can use, because a lot of stuff can be done. I love my perfect English stuff. A lot of results can be achieved with a guidance of a professional who knows, because he's not emotionally involved like we are. He
Exactly.
can see the patterns. You
Yeah.
can see you're
Yeah.
always interrupting, you're not letting him talk, or you're dismissing this person as their problems are not important. You make him feel like a little child. You're
Mm.
patronizing, you're condescending. And we're like, really? Yes, I can tell straight off. Like the very famous
Mm.
joke I found in the Reader's Digest 20 years ago. The psychotherapist is there, or whatever who he is, and the couple arrive there, and she sits and he goes, "You sit there," to my husband. And he's like, "Right." I go, "First note."
That's a good one. Yeah.
It was a stunning receipt. I can't remember what was the comment the psychiatrist made, but it was so amazing. I was like, yeah, there we go. We can tell straight off what's going on. Who's
Yeah.
in charge? I sit here and you sit there. And now you
Yeah.
tell him what's wrong with us.
Yeah. Or better, yeah, just tell him that everything is fine, right?
Yeah, now you're telling
Yeah.
it. We're just fine.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Ah, so that's crazy. So, Arkady, I could talk the whole day about this because we want the family to be the hinge of a society, the center, the core.
Hmm.
And the family is happy, the children are happy. Divorce is a distant thing. And the whole society works better. You don't have to get drunk to forget all the
Yeah.
pain. You don't have to go off with another woman and father a child who will never know who are his parents. And all this stuff would disappear if we just tackle the problems even before they arrive with a little bit of investment of
Exactly.
time. Turn off the television, turn to your partner and say, "How was your day?"
Exactly. Yeah, it can be as simple as that. Yeah, and it is in the root of so many things.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Arkady. Where can we find you if we are in Canada? We want to see you in person. Where are you?
I'm in Toronto at College and Spadina intersection, and the best way to find me would be going to my website, feelyourwaytherapy.ca, and I'd be happy to connect or provide any help or support I can.
That's great. Thank you so much. I'm very glad that you came here as a guest and I learned a lot about couples therapy. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Franz. That was great to talk to you today, and your questions were amazing, and they made me think and reflect. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I hope you guys listen and have found lots of precious gems here. Take notes. And if you have any question, make sure you write to Arkadiy Volkov and he will be there writing back to you and telling you. Here we go. That's what you do here. Because he can pick up his pattern. That's what he does the whole day. I mean, honestly, it's so easy. And you always say, "I don't have the money." Do you know what? A divorce will be a lot more costly
That's
emotionally
true as
and
well.
financially. So it's easier to get the stuff as it's coming out. You think, this is something frustrating. Let's look at that. What can we do about it? Go to the therapist now and see how things go. If your things are just going down because that's the end, you made your effort, you done your part. You are with peace in your heart that you guys cannot do together. So I hope that you can share this episode and maybe subscribe because there'll be more episodes talking about how we can create the life that we want using neuroscience and using mindset and NLP, hypnosis, EMDR, all these things that are everyday modality used by psychotherapists, used by clinical hypnotherapists to help you so that your life is better. And I hope to see you all next week. See you. Bye.